I don't even know how I do this. How do I do this? Relax, center. Hello, my son.
Hello, welcome. I'm listening to our silly conversation before Jane channeled. We're trying not to.
All vibrations are most enjoyable. Though we feel not emotions as you do. We are enlightened by the energy you release.
It's wonderful to hear. They say that laughter is a healing thing.
It is what makes the paths of all the human creatures quite different growth than that of the other creatures.
Only human beings laugh?
No, from chimpanzees and
Yes.
of that line of evolution, they too laugh.
What about beings from other dimensions? Do they laugh?
Yes.
Is there something that would be equated with laughter in spirits?
Joy. The lifting of the energies. Laughter and its chemical equation really truly belongs to the physical domain.
Right.
But we are not without knowledge of its beauty and its light energy.
So it creates a vibration that is felt in spirit?
It creates a vibration that moves faster than anything that you could measure it by.
May we ask you this question about the eclipse that's going to happen on the 8th of April? There's a lot of people talking about this, and there seems to be a lot of activity around the eclipse, and there seems to be a lot of conversation about the upcoming eclipse. Is there something significant or unusual about this eclipse?
There are beings here that could speak of this. But I will say to you this. There are many beings, but this very movement of the sun and the stars was mostly a religious event. What you might call Druids or early peoples have returned, and many still see the movements as the most important. The other issue at hand is coming from the scientific evolution into the spiritual one. Two diametrically opposed understandings, you might think, but at times of eclipse they become one.
So this is the first eclipse since we moved into or through the overturn?
Yes.
So that's created a significance to it as well?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. And when you say that many who were Druids in past lives have now reincarnated,
Yes,
and are here on the planet, and are some of them or are any of them aware of that past life?
some are, some not so.
Mm-hmm.
But the fascination of that is in the sky and how it affects them the earth that they walk and live upon.
Right. That's interesting. And is there some significance to Stonehenge in this regard?
You might think of it as the center of a religious belief or a very large timepiece to mark the changing of seasons and the gathering of peoples at different times and the understanding of the afterlife. And even in those times, they believed in the before life. That is what this monument was for, and for many years was nothing but an obscure thing in the middle of a field. But it is a place that marks a time.
It was a gathering place?
Yes.
And was that the people who built it originally? It was for that intention?
Yes. It was like a great cathedral. And they came from far and wide, and there were many that gathered around and took time walking close in and out. Many ceremonies took place.
And this is only one of many stone structures like this, yes?
There are many. Everything reflects the circle.
Right.
Your eclipse reflects the circle.
Oh, yes, interesting. Is there anything else of significance with the eclipse that we would be able to share with people?
Do not look directly at it.
Yes.
To understand that in the passing, much vibration has changed in your physical world. Your planet's axis has moved. The energy fields have increased. It is why the changing in the weather, as well as the actions of the beings upon the earth, change the weathers. Weather is affected by the movement of the magnetic field that surrounds it. The positive and negative charges that you yourselves all need are shifting and moving. It does not mean the end. It means you have all moved to a higher vibration. You will hold each other to a higher understanding, though your conscious minds may not understand it, but you will see clearer and move with greater acceptance into the understanding that you are greater than the sum of just your experiences. The learning that will take place is that you have put together from that story of you. Each being will have a change of pace in this next time. Time is not something that we of spirit under duress does for you. We see it simply as a tool for your physical world to mark the passing or mark the evolution. You see it often as a weight upon you. But let this weight be known that now it will move quicker for you because your vibrations have increased.
Often when we are younger, time seems to go more slowly, and then as we age or as we get older, time seems to move faster. Is there a significance to that?
Mostly, my dear one, that's an illusion. For the child has little to do in a day except to play or want the next thing to happen. Whereas those that have achieved adulthood are some often very busy beings that try to fit many things into one day.
Right, okay.
The time has increased. It is true.
So as our vibration increases, then time increases as well?
Yes. in process, some, and some it's already happened.
Interesting. We had a question from, I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday with Donald Lovegrove, and he was curious about a map that has been called Terra Infinita, and he was curious about this map, and he had a question that may I share it with you?
Yes.
So Donald asks, if I were to travel by air beyond the continent we know as Antarctica, would I see lands beyond that are not currently included on our maps?
You wouldn't see lands yet, for they're still covered with ice.
But is there something that exists beyond the knowledge of human beings at this time?
There's many things beyond the knowledge of human beings. There's many things yet to be understood.
About the Earth?
Yes.
And so I believe that the concept of, are you familiar with this map?
Yes.
Okay. And so is there truth to Donald's concept of this map?
In all manners, there is some line of truth through all things. Many concepts have been created because they had a glimpse of that was reality. And much of these things that have come through to be seen now were not of this dimension.
Right. So he asked as a follow-up question, are these lands configured as what may be viewed as circles within circles?
Dimensions within dimensions, yes.
Okay. And he asks, if I traveled beyond the last circle surrounding our realm, would I encounter further lands?
If you were the ancient being, yes. The being who you are now, no.
And can we tell him more about that?
He has stepped into an understanding of the many parts of his being, the many understandings of his vibration. He has come from times of ancient times, when there was many understandings and teaching, much magical talk. That's why you wish to discuss many things with him. It seems almost fantastical, but it is true for certain times in the evolution of this physical plane. You see, one's truth evolves as one's growth evolves. To be expected, there was a time that this was all true. And alterations occurred. Visions change. Not that they were wrong before, but now they must be seen in a different way. In a time yet to be, all beings' visions will change. All beings will write and speak of a time that no longer will be seen now.
So am I interpreting what you're saying correctly in that as we evolve and our vibration increases, then we see things differently, so we see more. So we would interpret it differently.
Yes.
That's fantastic, thank you. He also asked, if I travel beyond the last circle surrounding our realm, would I encounter further lands? Does that include the Anunnaki lands?
Those lands are still present. They are not outside any circle. Mesopotamia was very much the beginning birthplace of much of the written understanding. There were many changes at hand.
I don't even know how to ask this, but do dimensions change as everything evolves?
Of course.
Yes, okay. He also asked, does that include other lands like the Pleiades, Mars, Orion, Draco, and more?
The creation of what is needed to be seen can be whatever it is needed to be seen.
Oh, yes.
You are all gods walking upon a physical plateau. Remember that. Though you may never consider yourself gods, you are of God energy. You will see what you will create to be seen. You will search for that you believe is there. But as I spoke before, when you arrive there, you will have evolved and your vision will change.
Yes, that's fantastic. So everything is possible.
Yes.
Yes, of course. It seems that as human beings, we strive to be constantly looking outside of ourselves. And is that valuable to our evolution? Always constantly wanting to be looking for something outside ourselves.
It isn't how it began. It has evolved to this. Beings in your evolution need at some point to see outside of yourself, to see those that are important and those that are growing, evolving. In that process, though, you are weighted by the element of time. You might see changes and measure yourself upon them. And this is where perhaps there were some elements of no growth. For as soon as you start to measure yourself against another being's growth, or where they be or what they have, you limit your growth. You stop because you're trying to be not on your evolution, but that within another, and that cannot happen. So seeing outside of yourself at some parts of your evolution can be a negative, but it is an important part of your growth. To then become evolved to the place in which you have learned to love thyself and the growth that is within and the God that you be in all its wonder and magnificence, without its being prideful, without its being more important than others. It is only through seeing others that you see them, and you have love and tenderness for them, for you have learned love for yourself. And then you will see the world that others live in and how they are managing to be happy, hopefully, or not. Whether they be hungry, needing. These are parts of needing to look outside of yourself. Only knowing from what you have learned can you see outside of yourself completely, without judgment.
That's wonderful, thank you. May we ask you about the significance of this eclipse as well?
It is just a magnificent display of energies. there will be distortions of energies upon your planet, as you call it, your mother. It can disturb because you have so much energy flowing. It's a simple energy you are flowing, and it is easy to disrupt it. So be aware of that. There are those that are very energized at this time, and those that will be bothered by it, headaches, skin irritations, as if walking through a heavier air. Even if you see it or see it not, it matters not. There is an effect upon all of your planet. A time to take a deep breath. A time to move forward. But know that time exists not in spirit. That we see it as just being, just learning the physical experience. The energy affects you. It recharges you. It might distort you for a bit, but always will bring you to a greater awareness of your being.
Sometimes human beings try to turn these kinds of events into something that there is some other significance to them. And is there any truth to that?
I am sure that at some point in all beings' evolution, they wanted to do something that aroused a feeling within them of fear. It seems to be a wanted state to experience it, as if you have a build-up of energy that can only be released by being frightened or using up the adrenaline of fear to run. We find it an unnecessary, expensive energy. But yes, there'll be those that'll have some doom around this natural occurrence. Actually, it is more than natural. It is a needed element within the entire system planetary. All beings must go through these times. It is an important place to be.
So, I naively ask, is there significance for the sun and the moon to have this happen?
The sun is the great energy battery of your system. It has helped the evolution of the physical component of the spiritual evolution, necessary for the cells to work, for carbon to be the main element of your physical world. The moon, as pretty as you might see it, is a leftover from an explosion caught up in the sphere of the planet. Creation can be a messy thing.
But thank goodness it happened. Thank God it happened.
I like your words, yes.
Yeah. I often look up at the moon and say thank you, because without the moon we wouldn't be here in the way that we are now.
Yes, it has a wonderful pull upon all things. It moves your tides. It denotes changing of time and affects the very fibers of all beings. For it is close to your planet.
Yes.
It gets between you and your sun and your other planets.
Yes. Is there more to this than you would be able to share with me at this time?
A freak accident or a wonderful purpose.
One and the same?
There are no accidents.
Yes, of course. Yeah. we have some questions that were sent in through Jane's website, and I would want to be able to ask those so we didn't run out of time with you. Is it okay if I ask those now?
Please.
Thank you. May I ask you if we wanted to share some information with others about how to connect with their spirit guides, what would you suggest?
Well, firstly, I will say how happy that would make your spirit guides, because their main job, if for lack of a better word, is you, and that they would be most willing to do your bidding. But you need to do one thing that's very important, that's asking. By your asking, you are doing great growth for yourself there. You are honoring your being by loving yourself enough to ask for help from this amazing loving energy that is with you. So firstly, understand they love you completely, and you need only ask. Now, to communicate truly, you're going to have to develop a conversation with them somehow, through some means that is comfortable for you, more so than for them, where they'll be able to fulfill anything you ask for that way. It could be at first say, please show me a sign, and say to yourself, let it be a confirmation sign, which would be, I would ask a question, is this right or wrong? And if it's right, I would see, I don't know, I don't have halfpennies anymore. Pennies, a coin of some sort, a bird, a butterfly, something that is something that you would see that would be even something unusual that you would see it as a confirmation. They often begin that way. Other times when you ask a question, you might feel a tingling on your skin, an understanding. You may not hear words like you would hear vocal cords, like I'm getting this opportunity to speak with them. You may not hear words like that through your ears, but you might hear words or impressions through your heart, and that often comes as prickling of your skin, or warm feeling, or perhaps a warm touch upon your cheek. That could be how they will communicate with you. Your choice. Be patient. One of the most important things, which I do find that most of the species of human are very impatient right now. You have evolved yourselves to a place of wanting instant answers and instant relief, and even though an issue may have taken a long time to occur, you want an instant answer. So be patient. Be very, very patient. Don't give up. There's no giving up. It's just you are a spiritual being, and you have spiritual guides and assistants, archangels, whichever you wish to call them. Some people will say, I had a little hunch. Call your guide a little hunch if you wish. It does not matter to them. They will love you no matter what. If you do hear a word like, a guide will sometimes speak to you in a way that is very important to listen to. That could be if you go into a place or a room and you feel it'll be short and sweet, like leave, don't go. Pay attention to that, because that's them working through you very quickly to help you. If you've been asked a question to do something and you hear from them, again, not perhaps through your ears, but through your being, no, then listen to that and follow through. Or if it's a yes, listen to that and follow through. If you have evolved to the place where you are open and asking, you must receive what is being given to you. You can't start denying it all over again. How frustrating is that, not only for yourself, but for others? Don't get a message from something and say, oh, that's just nonsense. If you don't wish to say it out loud, then write it down someplace and keep a record of what you're hearing. You might take a little while before you trust in all of your messages you're receiving. Don't lack trust in your spirit guide, but you might lack trust in what you are receiving. You will find a way to communicate. That is their one job. Not that the communication is to help you, and they will step in and help you whether you ask or not, but it'll happen more frequently and much easier if you do ask for help. They will honor you and be completely with you.
And when someone asks for help from their spirit guides, do they have to say it out loud? Or?
No. A spirit guide can hear your thoughts. That is often confused with a being that is stuck in between lifetimes, that has transitioned from body into just spirit, and they are what you would call a ghost or spirit. That's not what a spirit guide is. That is, they can hear your thoughts. A ghost cannot hear your thoughts. They think they're still alive and doing their thing. A spirit guide is not a ghost. It's not nearly never a relative or someone you have known, though there are beings that will stay with you that have loved you a long time, and they're nothing to be afraid of too. They cannot hear your thoughts. The only beings that can hear your thoughts are Mother Energy, your spirit guides, the spirit that you are made of.
Right, and as I've heard you say before, they're not judging you for your thoughts, but they're here to be loving and to assist you.
They don't see you like a body, they see you as a light first, and they see all the magnificent parts within that energy light that is, well, you might call it, or aura. That is the working part that your spirit guide works with. Mm-hmm.
And so to practice this, we could ask questions of our spirit guides, and then would we want to meditate or sit and quietly wait for the reply? What could be some ways to practice?
You could do all of that, but I believe you'd be a lot happier if you just continue on with your daily doing things. You don't have to sit on a mountaintop to communicate with spirit guides. No, their purpose is to help you live, how to help you work, how to help you walk. Some spirit guides love to even sing with you. That some people receive just hearing the words of a song. That is quite interesting. That's a way of communicating. The myriad ways that they can communicate. It's not so structured as you might think. Many beliefs and many understandings say that you have to do all these certain conformities to make things work. It was never that way, and if some people need it to that way, then that's all right, let them go that way, but it isn't a necessity. There is no rule book on how to speak with your guides. Maybe there should be. Maybe that would make things easier.
Something that we could channel.
We could hand it out with each birth. Here, you take your book with you, my dear. Oh, it'll be deliciously wonderful.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That's wonderful information.
I love you, my dear.
I love you too. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Oh. Okay. Oh, circles, circles, circles.
Lights within lights.
Wow.
Well, that was incredible. Thank you, Jane.
Interesting.
Bless you.
Oh, that's so interesting. I just have to tell you this before I forget it. When I first started, all I could see was the circles from the lights. You know how those imprints leave on your eyelids? I don't know where it is, but you can always see them. They were all over the place. That all disappeared. It really disappeared. And then coming back, it was totally dark. And then when I opened my eyes, it's like, there they are. But isn't that weird that impression didn't stay? That's my own little thoughts for the day. Sorry.
Psychic medium thoughts.
Today's thought, the impression.
It's like an SNL skit, right? Oh, God. Oh, it is just a big joke, all of it. Well, did I have... Have I turned whiskey into wine? No, whatever. While you were channeling, they put their finger in, and now is it gin?
No, I wish. No.
Oh, that was really interesting. I have a feeling that a lot of it is filled with snoring. Because Rocco was just going to town. He was over there for a little while and really just snoring like crazy. So I picked him up and I put him in the bedroom for a sec. But he really does just want to be right here. And he
That's
was
all right.
so deeply sleeping that it was incredible. Yeah.
I think it adds a human element to it all. I really do. Let's not get too over ourselves here. You know, this is the real world, and rock is part of it.
There's
You
not
know,
many
with anything.
There's not many mediums out there doing videos with snoring dogs.
No. And isn't that wonderful? I think it is. See snoring like that?
Louder too.
Oh.
And it's always interesting that I shouldn't say always, but sometimes when someone has asked, a more serious question, and then as the guide is about to say something really serious to them, Rock just lets out the longest snore around it. Or, you ask the question and then there's a snore. And sometimes I wonder if the guides are waiting
Really?
for it to subside so that, okay, now I can speak. It's so interesting.
But guides have never complained about it, have they?
No, I mean, in our experience, whenever I say, oh, that's too bad about Rocket or whatever, they're like, they're certainly not mad at you, but they're like, that blessed being, it's wonderful that he's here, and, it wouldn't change a thing is more what they say.
Yeah, I love that story about you being told to go and get him he was upstairs.
Oh, yeah, I'll never forget that.
That was so
when he was in the
cute.
crate upstairs.
Yeah.
And the guide was and you could kind of hear Rocket whining. And they said, will you please let that blessed being out of that crate and let him come downstairs.
Oh.
It was so fantastic. I mean, no one would have believed it except that the room was full. There were 6 or 7 people there at the time. It was pretty cool. Yeah. Well, that was wonderful.